This is the Reimagine Richmond Podcast, imagining our power to transform our visions. We know the system is broken, but we are not. We keep each other safe. In this series, community members will share their stories of safety and how they reimagine Richmond.
Hi, my name is Marisol Cantu. I'm a third-generation Richmond resident. I'm super excited to welcome you to the very first episode of Reimagine Richmond's podcast. I'm Sol, don't call me Mary. I have been in a podcast before, and now I'm so excited to have a podcast with Reimagine to learn all about young organizers, their work, their interests, the past, present, and future, which is the name of this podcast episode of Reimagine Richmond. So first we're gonna start learning about all of these incredibly beautifully strong young people. First, we'll go ahead and begin with our young person, Miguel. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Miguel. I'm a Richmond resident, student, organizer, uplifting, resisting voices. I've been in Richmond most of my life. I went to elementary, middle school, high school here. Love the community. I moved around a lot. I was raised by immigrant parents, part of the immigrant community. They grew up a lot of field work, so they would move around a lot until one day we had a family here, so we decided to move over here for job opportunities. And yes, I fell in love with the community. It's something, because I've been in part of different communities, and this is like the most loving, the most present community that I, lived in.
Love that.
Hi everyone, my name is Carmen. I am also a Richmond resident. I am also a daughter of 2 immigrants and a police accountability advocate.
Hi everyone, my name is Yeymi. I'm a Richmond resident. I'm undocumented, and I've been an advocate for undocumented rights as well as for my community. I've always wanted to work with my community, for folks who look like me, who have gone through the same struggles, and so I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome, thank you all so much. And so we're gonna learn about Reimagine Richmond, and could you, as you have these beautiful shirts, shout out to Eddie Chacon who helped create these beautiful shirts. What exactly is Reimagine Richmond, Yeymi?
Yeah, so Reimagine Richmond is a movement. We're a movement that pushes our city to invest in life-affirming resources that our community needs.
That's incredible. And could you tell us a little bit more about the history of Reimagine Richmond, Carmen?
So it all started in summer 2020. It started off with the Richmond Revolution, where we had young folks gather everyone during the George Floyd's murder. So everyone was protesting for the Black Lives Matter.
Exactly. And what were we demanding at that time in 2020?
Yeah, well, 2020 was a lot. It was really heavy for our communities. And so we were really demanding for, police accountability, for our communities to be safe. And a lot of the time, the police weren't doing that. They were bringing a lot of fear. And so we really wanted to push and come up with solutions that were gonna really bring that to our communities. And sometimes that means looking outside of the police, looking at, systems of care.
Absolutely. And during this time, these incredible young Black voices really advocated for some reallocations. Can you tell us a little bit more about those allocations?
Yes, so they really came together and listened to the community's needs. And one thing that we really heard from that was that we needed a task force that was gonna look into what our community needs. And so from there, the task force was able to work together and be able to reallocate funds from the police to the community and be able to invest in gun violence prevention, unhoused needs, as well as youth employment, and lastly, a CCRP, which is a community crisis response program that was really to be in the works. And so that's where we find ourselves today.
Beautiful. And this podcast episode is really going to be talking about elements of all of that, not just in this episode, but within the entire series, touching on youth voices, touching on unhoused interventions in some way, shape, or form. And so definitely stay tuned, because this is just the work and the beginning. So now I'm really interested in learning about how this work continues today, your specific work in Reimagine Richmond. Miguel?
Yeah, so Reimagine Richmond, has done a lot of work in the past, and going forward, we started a new group called for Reimagine Richmond, which is a youth group, and we're really excited about that because we got to build our own base with local students, community members, just young people interested in the movement. And we done a couple projects with them, like for example, YPAR, which we started a conversation with them saying like, what kind of system would they like to see going on, a system of care, and some of them share their experiences and think about this in the community. And one of the big things with mental health and houselessness in the community, which they go hand in hand, and a lot of students, suffer from that, whether it's like mental health issues or housing crisis, because we live in the Bay Area. Bay Area is super expensive.
Absolutely.
If you're in a certain situation, you can't just leave a lot of times. So youth really voiced that, and they came up with a solution that would not solve the problem, but just like help it out.
Absolutely.
And it was super cool. They wanted like affordable housing style, like dorm style. Where and they wanted to split it by levels, which one level would be like LGBTQ friendly, other for women, other for men and their families, with resources. And then one thing that I thought was really cool, that they wanted the people living within those to be running it, so it can be sustained by the people that need it, and then it'll be so much easier to relate to one story. And then we started asking the youth what they wanted during our meetings, because we have bi-weekly meetings, which was because when we started that, I wanted it to be something for them, to Reimagine Richmond, like what do they need, not only like on the work we do, but like on things that affect them in their life. For example, we did a resume workshop, which a lot of youth found that really helpful, just applying for jobs and having some income, because that's one thing that the youth need, especially that goes hand in hand with housing, mental health. We have a couple more, like financial literacy, which I'm really excited about.
Nice.
And we try to advocate not only for documented but undocumented youth as well in our group. That's something that's very important to us. Having equal opportunities. So we try to hear their voices, implement them, find alternatives to certain situations that whatever limits them. And I'm super excited to continue.
That's awesome. You use two different acronyms, FOR. So could you explain this youth group that's for youth, by youth? What does FOR stand for?
FOR stands for Future of Reimagine Richmond.
Yes.
Which came up, one of the youth came up with it, and then they voted on it. So
that's awesome. And you also used another acronym. It was YPAR. Can you explain just what that means?
Yeah. So YPAR is Youth Participatory Research Action, which basically youth found a problem in the community, did some research on it, and they presented a solution, which was really cool. Just having the youth showing their problems and how to help the community.
Absolutely. So, Thank you. Incredible work, and really Miguel is leading along with all of our organizers for the future of Reimagine Richmond. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about Carmen.
So right now my main focuses are police accountability and civic engagement, research and policy work. So with police accountability, I kind of come from a background of already having police accountability experience through IULERO, which is the Independent Office of Outreach and Review of Law Enforcement in Sonoma County. So now just coming into Reimagine Richmond and applying some of my knowledge into Reimagine Richmond so that we can continue working on our current CPRC, which is our Community Police Review Commission Board. For civic engagement, I am really trying to network with others in our community so that we can bring more people along into the boards and commission. There's a lot of vacancies right now, so just making sure that people are very interested and are willing to make a change in our community through a board. And I also do a lot of research and policy work, so just looking what other cities have been implementing in their cities, statewide as well, just so that we can come back and see what do other cities have to offer that Richmond doesn't currently do.
Oh, thank you. Yeymi?
Yeah, so I do a lot of storytelling. I also do community organizing and advocacy. I actually first heard of Reimagine Richmond, or actually I was in the summer of 2020 when a lot of the things, for Black Lives Matter was going on. I went to a protest with my little brother that was actually organized by Richmond Revolution, the Black youth who are here in Richmond doing the work. And I like to take pictures, so I was able to take pictures and really just capture our community out, coming together in numbers and really, a lot of people go for different reasons. If it's healing, if it's voicing their thoughts, coming together, asking for police accountability. But I think, through the pictures that I was able to take, you could really just see it and feel it. And so I always think storytelling is such a big part of the movement. So I'm really happy and really just really thankful that I'm able to do that within my work with Reimagine Richmond now, and being able to, do things like this, like the podcast, hearing from our voices from our community, and, really sharing that out, and, the voices that need to be heard, but unfortunately aren't heard enough, bringing them to light. And so that's a lot of my work. I also love, being out in the community, outreaching, talking to youth, talking to, community members about the work, and really giving a space for us to come together and think of, alternatives and reimagining what our city could be like.
Absolutely. And so what are some of the more current projects that you're working on right now, Yeymi? You definitely mentioned podcast. Yes. And so that's one. And what other ways are you bringing storytelling into Richmond?
Yeah, so we definitely have the podcast, which is going on right now, and you guys will hear from other great people in our community. We also have interviews that Miguel is working on, as well as Carmen, hearing from our community. We've also done big projects like the 911 workshop, which is we had a great space where community members came together and talked about their experiences with police, and then how a lot of them faced, unfortunate situations where their needs were not met. They didn't feel safe. They didn't feel like the reason why they called, the results weren't there. And so there's a lot of times where, our community has to step up and do a lot of the work that the police are meant to do. And so we really understood and heard from community members. We had cards where it showed other responders that could possibly come to the scenario and really come with real solutions. So community trained responder, healers, a youth advocate, just a little bit of the few of all the responders that could really, really help our communities. So that was a great project that, we all took part of, and we all were able to, hear our community. And so having workshops like that, has really been helpful for us to understand our community. And we really hope to continue doing very similar ones like that in the future.
And do you think that this changes the narrative that we have this over-dependence on the police, or a lot of community members still feel that police equate safety? And so do you think that storytelling can change how we see the police in our community and bring more alternatives?
100%. Yeah, I think just how the police have their narrative of they're the emergency callers, they're the ones that are gonna help everything, and it's because they have the budget for that. Money goes to them, so they're able to really showcase that or really be there. But if we just put the same energy into our people and be able to showcase their stories and our resilience and how we take care of our own communities, I think we'd be able to not only imagine that and see that, but really provide those resources needed to really take care of our communities. And so, I think storytelling is a big part of that. I think, we just deserve more of a voice, and unfortunately, we're not always given it.
Absolutely. And Yeymi is definitely understating. She's an incredible professional photographer in the community, runs her own business, and is an entrepreneur and community organizer. So not just taking photos, but actually is a photographer, incredible, and has been behind the scenes of our camera and now in front of the scenes as well a lot of the time. And a huge shout out goes to Stephanie, who's actually behind our scenes right now, who's going to be part of this entire podcast. And she's been working on amazing multimedia videos as well, which we actually had a part of for YPAR. So can you tell us a little bit more about the multimedia and how youth were able to voice their opinions and their power through the videos?
Yeah, so during YPAR, after we did our research and came up with their solution, we interviewed them on how it went, and the youth, they seem to really like it, like solution. They like learning about situations that they were always know about, like bad situations, but they never know like to what extent it was, or like how often things go. So just learning those things, I feel like the youth really like learning that, and like left with like knowledge, like better knowledge of how to handle certain situations, and like or like how to solve certain situations. So during that, at the end, we had interviewed them, see what they liked, what they learned, and it seemed like the youth enjoyed it, and then and it was really just fun overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And another video project has been on CPRC, which is a Community Police Review Commission. Can you tell us more about that video project in particular, and what impact you think or you hope it will make in our community?
So the CPRC is the Community Police Review Commission, in which a lot of people don't know, but we actually have one in our city. So it's just bringing a lot of awareness to the public and educating what it is, how people can file a complaint so that they can ensure that their voices are heard because of unfortunate situations, incidents that they had with the police. So it's just making sure that we're giving our people their power and trying to voice everything that has happened to them. Yes.
All incredible projects, videos, research, policy work that these amazing folks in Reimagine Richmond are doing, and an incredible impact. And so I just would love to know a little bit more about, how you reimagine Richmond, the future of Reimagine Richmond. And let's go ahead and start with Yeymi.
Yeah, I love the name Reimagine Richmond. I think that really attracted me as well, because I think we need to think of new solutions. Like, obviously what the systems created has not been working for centuries, years, so for me, when I think of reimagining Richmond, I think of a city where our community is really prioritized, like it's working for our folks, and really, having schools where our students enjoy going to, where they're being funded for sports, for, labs, where they can themselves imagine whatever their hearts desire, like for their own future, and like really investing in those arts and those sports, really having a green community where we also just can go out and feel safe and like enjoy. We have a lot. Richmond has so much. And so a place where that is prioritized more as well, for sure.
And Carmen, how do you reimagine Richmond?
Very similar to Yeymi's, but I would like to add that for me personally, I would want to see more community members responding to low-level calls rather than the police, just because I feel like our people have lost that trust completely with the police officers. So just having our community members just bringing in their lived experiences and having them handle the situations, because only they know the best. Our community members know each other, so which is why I really advocate and reimagine Richmond as like a community-ran city. Like our people know what they're doing and they know what they want. So it's up to us to really like clean back our city.
Beautiful, love that. Miguel?
Yeah. And for me, Reimagine Richmond, I worked with a lot of different orgs throughout high school and then just seeing like all the problems that were in Richmond, which Richmond, one problem I say they don't have is community, because the community is here. That's one thing. So knowing that, I wouldn't imagine Richmond, like with a lot of activity with sports for students and children. I would reimagine parks, farms to grow food locally, a place where people can feel safe. The youth can feel safe. They can be housed, where they can, be independent if they have to. Where youth can go to school and learn things they want to learn, and be taught, things that like they want to learn or be taught in ways they want to learn, not just very robotically, but like ways that they can express themselves, use their imagination. I also want a Richmond where folks can walk around without fear from like ICE, just they can get a job without having to fear being caught or being criminalized for simply trying to make a living. And I reimagine Richmond, as a city of love, a city of youth, a city of people of color, a city where people can stay here and live happily.
And if you could say one thing right now to the city of Richmond, what would you say?
I would say to the city of Richmond, stay strong. We got the community, we got the power, we can do it. If you want something, go for it. You shouldn't wait for others to start initiative. If you got the power, you got your experience, what you lived through, and you can do it.
I think I would tell everyone to not pay attention to the negative stereotypes that there is about our city. We know what happens in our city. We know what's going on. We need to own our city. So just staying in the city. Yes, you can go off for a bit, but come back, plant your seeds, and make sure that your legacy continues to work. Everything happens for a reason, but our city has been strong for many years despite everything that has happened. So just staying strong, remaining in our city, and continuing to make things happen for us.
Definitely. I would say stay creative. Keep imagining, reimagining what our city could look like. I know that so many times we're so stuck to what we think works or what things are meant to be, but don't be afraid to reimagine, to be creative and create I love what Carmen said, plant your seeds and really bring forward whatever it is you would love from your community. And this really is, it takes a village. We're not doing this all by ourselves. We can't do it. But it really takes all of us to come together, think, and just make it happen. And so
thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, here at our very first podcast episode, you'll be learning from our incredible hosts on this journey of this podcast, Yeymi, Carmen, and Miguel. And for Soul, don't call me Mary. We'll see you on the other side.
Thanks for tuning into Reimagine Richmond Podcast. A special thanks to all the community members who made this podcast possible. Reimagine Richmond is a movement pushing the city to invest in life-affirming resources and programs. To join the movement, visit our website at reimaginerichmond.org.